continue. There are people joining and almost there. Yeah, so I'll repeat the last one as I was saying. One was about the view styles, which is over here. We can explore all this and also the display option, which is here. So right now I'm in rendered mode. I'll apply some material. Yeah, this is just a flat tone of color to it. But also like working with colors, I prefer to work with shaded mode because while working on rendered mode, the model is heavy and it lags. So in shaded mode, if your objects are in various layers, it changes its layer like this immediately because there is always a predetermined color set assigned to every layer. So this was about layers. So about drafting and curves, that I'll cover it tomorrow. All the curves, how to go with it, how curves helps us to work, helps us to make geometry, curves for drafting, and like similar to AutoCAD. Various similar functions that we have here is there in AutoCAD as well. Like both of them, they have similar commands, almost similar commands, I'll say. And also about snapping and all that, I'll talk about it later. But this was most about for Rhino interface, and I'll ask you guys to sit for like 15-20 minutes and just play with all these tools over here. Even I know that it's new to you, but this is how I have learned. Like before getting any model to work on, I was just exploring every button. I used to close my eyes and click anywhere, and then whatever commands used to come, and I've started with that way, and I'm there for you. I'll solve all of your doubts, so there's no worry in it. And yeah, and one more thing, yeah, at last. So over here, an important tool which is record history, gumball, and OSnap. So while making any object or while working with many geometries, uh, we always have to use. We can see over here. For some people, it might be turned off by mistake or because of the Rhino setup. Sometimes it gets turned off. You can, yeah. So what I'm saying, that's the gumball. The green, blue, and red axis we see, that's called as gumball. It has features in it. For example, to move, we can move it, then drag it in any space here we want. And also there is scale. Scale not only uniformly scale, if you want a uniform scale, then press shift along with it and then it will do scale. And scale in any direction you want. And if you want to move by say 100 or a definite number, then this will help you out. And this was about scaling. Like I mean, say for Gumball, it has two features in it: move, scale, and also rotate. Yes, an important one to rotate. You don't always have to find the center of an object, or rather say ellipse or sphere. You just select this one and type any number you want, say 45. And then what you do, once the command is entered, you select here and then press anywhere. The direction is anti-clockwise. You press it outside, it will do the command. Yes. For any of the rotate one, it will rotate. So you don't need to type it always. The same goes for move, yeah. So it's quite good in that way. And that was about gumball, about snapping, which is OSnap. So while modeling, how can we tell the software that I want to snap at this point? Snapping as in how can we tell that the model has to start from this corner to that point or from this point to that point. We say we go with snaps, end point, near point, mid. You can just tick it. I'll say switch off the near one, untick it. Untick the intersection, perpendicular and tangent. And planar, switch on the planar, but don't go with the project. What planar does is it works on the plane that we see, and what the project does that it always projects on the C plane. I'll go ahead with C plane, but not now. But just remember, if we are working in perspective mode and want to make some movement in 3D space, then always click on planar. And yeah, the rest of the other snap points are there. We'll explore, we'll work on snapping points and gumballs further ahead, because that's the basic that we want to go, and that will help us to start modeling. And see, do you have plans? So there is a message to me. Do you have plans? So these sides of object like 360. Okay, how do I pan? Okay, so by the way, with right click, and there is no command which is active over here. Just use the right click and then you can orbit. It's not called as pan, it's called as orbit. And for pan, same button, the right click and then press shift, and then you can pan. Shift, right click, and then you can pan. For orbit, leave just the right click, then we can orbit in perspective. Yep, I hope I've answered your question. And then the last I'll say is working with viewports. I'll switch it off. Why viewports are important is, first I'm working, I've brought some CAD drawings over here or any reference drawings, say an image or JPEG or anything. And then I want to trace it. I'll trace it, but at the same time I want to model it. Then I use viewports. So it has, for right now, it's the default 4 viewports. You can go into viewports, which is viewport layout, and then we can update the viewport as and how we require. If you want 3 with top over here, perspective front, I'll say, yeah, that's 2-point perspective. We have like set perspective angles and 2-point parallel projections, everything is possible. So this, I'll say it depends on the user how he or she wants to work with. Got a bit off. Yeah. Over here. Yeah. So coming more on viewports, when I'm working in top view, I can see the same thing which is happening in perspective and the same thing which is happening in front. Just by moving from one viewport to the another, I can see it's working in that direction. For example, I want to work in XY plane, which is in the top view. Click it over here, and then I know that I'll work in YZ plane, which is over here. Sorry, XZ plane, which is here. You can see, you can get to know that XY is here, which is on the left in the top viewport, shown by the XY plane here, indication here. We can see in the perspective it's XYZ, and in the front we can see XZ. So yeah, then I'm playing in 3D, I'm extruding in Z axis. I'm not extruding, drawing it in Z axis. And this is how we can use the viewports, and working in viewports is really helpful for the starting phase, and once the model is done, then we can play in perspective only. I'll say it's helpful. I'd suggest you guys to work on these interface, get used to it. It'll take time, but I'll say definitely it will help you out, because an upcoming, like tomorrow we have a break. Tuesday there is no session. That's why I had kept a break, so that you all can work on the interface and get used to it. And if there are doubts or anything, of course there will be, and I'm there to help you out. And just pop it on the group so there are common doubts, I can answer from one to many that ways. This was about interface and briefing to Rhino, and that's it for today. Do you have guys any doubts? Just few minutes and then we'll wrap it up. And doubts, guys? And type it in the chat box or you can speak up. Okay. Yeah.
Hi Sanket, this is Nikhil.
Yeah.
So I was actually going to ask you ki, so like for the next time, can we do more about planar this thing? Because
Hmm.
working with curves was kind of confusing, like
Hmm.
on the initial part. And can you explain like what each and every about like icon does?
Yes, yes,
Because it is kind of confusing because most of the icons come with their sub icons,
yes.
and the cursor was actually like because of the internet glitch, the cursor
Yeah,
words
I
was
understand.
skipping. So like it was kind of confusing initially.
Yes. So actually निखिल आज का इसलिए रखा था मैंने ये कि massive curves, surfaces and solids ये तीन important, these are the three important ones and इसको समझने में टाइम भी जाएगा इसलिए मैंने फिर पूरे पूरे सेशन ही उसके लिए
Uh,
रखा है कि कर्व्स पे हो जाए एंड एक बार कर्व्स हो जाए एंड सबको पता चल जाए तभी हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं बिकॉज फ्रॉम पॉइंट्स टू कर्व्स एंड फ्रॉम कर्व्स टू सर्फेस एंड सर्फेसेस टू सॉलिड्स एंड सॉलिड्स टू एडवांस सॉलिड्स लाइक meshes and whatnot
mm-hmm.
ऐसे.
Okay,
So
okay.
this was just an
Okay.
introduction. So brief of Rhino was really short one. It was only for 10 to 15 minutes. The rest of the thing and tomorrow's day, which is free, is for you all to understand कि okay क्या हो सकता है इससे and how can we go ahead with that way.
Yeah.
I'll try कि मैं और simple way में सिखा सकूँ.
No, it was already simplified. I'm not saying that. I was
हम्म.
saying कि the like the pointer which you move ना, so
हम्म.
fast move होने के कारण ना pointer skip हो रहा था. So समझ में नहीं आ रहा था what you were exactly point because zoom के वजह से थोड़ा delay होता है ना, तो
Okay,
थोड़ा
okay, okay.
fast move हो रहा था cursor, तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा था. हर बार नहीं, there were times when it was happening. That's
Okay, okay, Nikhil. I'll take care of that one.
all.
Okay, guys, I think when you will start working, you will have doubts, and this is up for today. Thank you, guys.
Saraya, I have
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, so you mentioned that doing the properties was like
Hmm.
working with the properties was very important. Apart from layers, can you explain how do the properties? So, if I work with properties, how is it different than if I don't work with properties?
Okay. So what happens? And also, guys, I'm aware that people have to join other courses as well, so it's okay if you want to go. Even though, like, this is question answer. If you want, you can ask me later on again. No problem for that. Yeah, coming back to you, KP. Um, So I've experienced it not only in Rhino and not only with me, but many of my friends, like while modeling or drafting, because of the flow that we are working with, sometimes we just skip working with layers or skip working under properties that we sometimes damage the model or damage the drawings. And this is just a check on site that always when there is properties tapped on, you always click on it and it says okay it's a proper geometry, the proper geometry, because while making complex model or complex geometry, we can't check every minute uh, details of it because the entire model is built from those minute units. So that way it's important. I'll show it to you once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do for now, I have turned off my post snaps. Turn it off. I'll turn it off, and so there is no snapping right now. I'm assuming I want this line to be closed, and I hit enter. And I'm sure that this line is closed, but when I'm making when I'm making a surface from it, say planar surface, not planar surface, from closed surface or anything, it won't work. I'll show you. Surface from closed curve. Yeah, see. Yeah, so it didn't happen. It says like there is because there is no close, like it's not closed, it's not a continuous loop, it won't work. We can see it over here, it's open curve. While working with that, there are like many other things. For example, while making a solid and while doing some, say for example, filtering work, if I'm trimming it off. Yeah, even though while looking over here, I can see that it's perfectly closed. But how do I check it? How do I say it's proper? I go over here, then it says open poly surface, and then this model is not good. Like I mean, this geometry is not good if you are doing further extraction from the Rhino model. So that way, I'll say properties is good to have always property open, even though it has cameras and all those things. You can change it over here, and that way. And what was about layers? Can you repeat again?
No. Layers I understood. I was asking about other things.
Okay, okay. I think I have answered your question.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks.